Right, and the conversation continues here in studio. Gabriel Muluma is a political analyst, Brian Mutie, governance expert, and Dunstan Omari, who's a political analyst and constitutional lawyer. We're looking at the so-called swing counties and also strongholds like this one we're looking at now, the Western region, and how they voted in 2013. A perceived opposition stronghold. If we could look at those figures again, how Kenyatta and Raila fared. Raila Odinga had 873,389 votes. Uhuru Kenyatta had 205,035 votes. That's a difference of over 500,000 votes for Raila Odinga. The specific counties in Western region and how they voted then. Right, if you can have a look at that. Kakamega County, Uhuru Kenyatta had 12,468 votes. Look at that. Raila Odinga 303,120 votes. Vihiga, Uhuru had 2,542 votes. Raila Odinga 77,825. Bungoma 42,000 for Uhuru, 185,000 for Raila. Busia County 8,000 for Uhuru, 189,161 for Raila. Something I should have added there is Mudavadi's votes in that region in 2013, because now Mudavadi is actually in NASA. So what does that mean? And we've seen the Jubilee team several times, like I said, vigorously campaign in the Western region. Do we expect this to change, these figures in favor of either Uhuru or Odinga, although the NASA team and their supporters believe, and as the people voted in 2013, is still NASA and opposition stronghold? Dunstan.
My take is that I have this theory that campaigns, people have been wearing clothes for Jubilee or clothes for NASA for convenience purposes. When you look at the political rearrangement in the Western region, Mudavadi, who was a factor that took away votes from Raila Odinga, is now in NASA. When you look at all the Luhya luminaries, only one, Cyrus Jirogo, who appeared that he will hit into that constituency, went to oblivion. All the Luhya luminaries are within NASA, headed by people like Aturi, who has endorsed NASA. I think that people like Lusaka were commercial projects that were purely there to collect money and they will not deliver. Then does not exist. It does not exist. The only time, if you look at Eugene Wamalwa, he has faded, totally faded from the picture. In my own view, Uhuru Kenyatta might do a 10% to 12% of all the voters in Western province, because for the first time in the history,
I mean extra what we had, or total
the total votes that are going to be cast in 2017, Uhuru Kenyatta will not reach 15% in Western province.
So you think he'll do worse than he did in?
Terribly worse. No. He will do terribly badly.
Hussein, whatever Omar smokes this morning, I think.
I'm also wondering today, Omar, what's happening?
I'm only telling you the reality.
There's no reality there. You have to prove that reality.
Now
we're all getting your opinions.
Yes. Now, Hussein, if you look at the voting patterns of Western Bloc last time, or 2013 for that matter, of course, Uhuru and team did dismally. They performed not that well. But now looking at the gains that they have done, the inroads that they are doing in Western Kenya, as much as Mudavadi has tried to bring his basket towards the NASA side, and that of course has tilted the scales, but I don't think that Uhuru Kenyatta will do that dismally as Danson is saying, or looking at the previous engagement with the local leaders, Lusaka being one of them, Wamalwa, not Chris Wamalwa, but Eugene Wamalwa being one of them, and of course, what do you call him? Namwamba. Of course, these are not people you want to trivialize in terms of what they are able to do, in terms of mobilization, in terms of, telling people in Western Kenya to vote for Jubilee. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm saying that the bridge that was done there, the development that was done there, although some people will say the bridge was eroded the other time after a day, I want to say the spirit of development that Jubilee has done in Western, in terms of what they were able to do compared to the previous regimes, is awesome. And I want to say that aggregating that gain, that Jubilee has done, and now, you know, resonating that with the kind of voting that voters that they are likely to get, I want to go a notch higher from what Danson has said and give them between 17 and 25% in terms of voters from Western going to Jubilee.
Okay, Gabriel.
I'm also going to, I don't want to downplay the fact that there has been serious inroads done in Western. Now, as much as we'll all agree that the votes that Musalia had will largely translate into the NASA basket, you cannot, I don't know where Dunstan is getting all these numbers that they'll do dismally. I think they've done really well. Actually, even mainly if you look at the things that they've tried to do, and people have talked about it. The likes of Okinawa Shieli, the likes of Ken Lusaka that you're trying to play down. The fact that there has been an element of trying to revive the Mumias. The fact that there are developments that have been done. Now, whether you choose to ignore that, that's another different a narrative altogether. But I know for sure, I'll agree with Brian, it may move to the 20s, the percentile of 20s there. I do not think that they'll perform badly as they had done before in Western. And I can guarantee you, Hussein, we are here now, 48 hours removed to the election, you will see that is what will suffice. Dunstan, right now he's talking as the NASA legal operative. And that can be understood. I don't deny. That can be understood. But look at it this way.
And as he responds, it's worth to note, Gabriel, that we have not even added Musalia's votes in 2013 to those figures. But anyway, that's one, yes.
Hussein, what I'll say, it is not about the SGR that is going to determine votes in Western, neither the roads nor electricity. For the first time, the sons and daughters of Mulembe are seeing a chance of taking power of this country in 2032 through either Musalia or through Wetangula. Because Raila Odinga's presidency, according to the narrative, is a one-term. The second narrative is either going to Mutie's region, and that's why they were very, very hostile in Cumberland, whereby Nani is coming back, Musalia Mudavadi, as a deputy president in 2022. While in the Jubilee arrangement, Uhuru Kenyatta serves at 10 years. William Ruto takes from 2022 to 2032. From 2032, I don't know whether again it will come to the other region. Where will the Mulembe nation be? The question now in the country, and that's what people are not looking at, is not about the roads. The question about the country now is which formation has a likelihood of our person ever sending to power. So the narrative about development collapses. And that is how people are going to go. That is double speak. I'm telling you.
Danson, what makes you think Musalia will not deputize Ruto?
Exactly, that's all.
We are preempting on what perhaps will be shaped by the futuristic nature of our politics. So I do not want to go that side. But what I do want to acknowledge, Danson, is that Western, of course, is another stronghold. That one is right. And Jubilee is not going to Western to win. It's there to just enrich their basket. It's just there to make it better than they did in 2013, or perform better for that matter. So it's not a question of who is going to win in Western. It's about the numbers that they are going to pick from Western compared to what they picked in 2013 and what they are going to bring on board in terms of their basket this time around. So the most important thing and the most intriguing thing is that while we are saying that Western is a NASA zone, we have seen elements or components of Jubilee that perhaps would actually bring some votes to them. Look at even the appointment of Chebukati himself. Do you think that's something that people can just brush like that in Western Kenya? Of course.
My friend.
This being an independent office.
Was Chebukati appointed by Jubilee?
Of course.
The same narrative that the Chief Justice was appointed.
We don't want to go that direction.
Even the chairman of the ESCC, Webukala, coming from Western. These are people who have to get the last...
Even the Chief Justice being appointed by Jubilee?
No, listen, now you are... My point is there. These are not light or little appointments because the president is the last signatory to pin his signature for that person to be given a go-ahead to become the chairman of that institution. I'm not saying that he is solely the appointing authority, but he is the last decision maker on the appointment of that person. So the people of Western are still alive to the fact that the president has not been that bad to them.
Yes, and we say, let me amplify what Brian has said, because Dunstan is trying to run away from this. When Brian is saying that the president has not been that, you know, unwelcoming to the people of Western, you look at the CSs. You have Eugene in there, and I'm sorry because Dunstan, you've made us go this way. You look at Wahungu, then you look at Amina, whether you like it or not. That is the daughter of Kakamega. So what the president is saying is, I have been so alive to the fact that the development that you need, he has actually done it. A lot of development has gone to Western, and if you are to look at the whole scope of the sugar belt, he has been very sensitive to that, and you know, I know you would agree, you disagree, Dunstan, but those are the facts on the ground. That is why, Hussein, you have an undecided voter in Western standing at 18%. But let me tell you, those people are not undecided, and that's why I'm saying, when push comes to shove, do not be surprised to see that the president will get a 20-something, going to the 30s percentile in Western.
Gabriel, let me tell you, mere appointments are individual gains.
Oh, no.
The president has appointed.
No, Dunstan cannot say that. You cannot say that, because the other day Musalia was telling us it's all about the very same thing Dunstan is talking about. Okay, appointments.
Let Dunstan speak first, and then you can respond.
All I'm saying, appointment does not generate into votes. In Kisii, Matiang'i has been appointed. It does not add any vote to Jubilee.
We're not there.
Appointment does not. The question that these elections is all about is breaking the continuity and the dominancy of a particular political dynasty against an incoming regime. And that is the narrative people quietly are not telling. And that's what I call the narrative that will go out on Monday night. When you are talking about the lawyers, they are talking about their son ascending to power. People have moved away. Look, for example, the president has gone around the country.
Right.
With or without authority. Constitutionally. He has dished roads, he has dished dams, he has dished everywhere. Right. Every nation, every community will wish one of their sons to have that power. And that is the narrative in Western that you are talking. I've told you, whether you put electricity to everybody, to every village in Bondo, are they going to vote for the Jubilee?
But Wakili, when you talk about dynasty, when you talk about the Uhuru dynasty, because that's what you want to talk about, are you forgetting that the Jaramogi is also a dynasty?
It is my friend. It is a dynasty.
All right, let's take a look at another region. This is maybe closer home to Dunstan Omari, the Kisii and Nyamira counties. This was the result in 2013 presidential election. Uhuru Kenyatta in Kisii County had 95,596 votes. Raila Odinga had 236,831. In Nyamira, Raila had 121,590, 54,071 for Uhuru Kenyatta in Nyamira County. Very briefly on this one, because we have to wind up now. Brian, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Somebody told me Kisii is the most democratic in Kenya, of course, and I sometimes tend to, agree with that, because if you look at their previous voting patterns, of course, they are not swayed by, party dominance and so on and so on. They will always make that rationale a decision in terms of choice of whoever they want to vote for. And if you look carefully at the numbers, of course, Raila did better than Uhuru Kenyatta. But this time round, of course, we cannot actually, look it even different from that one. I still think that NASA will still pick and run with the Kisii vote this time round as compared to Uhuru Kenyatta. Look at the kind of, development and enduring that Jubilee has been doing in Kisii. It's not enough, and I want to say that it's not enough in the sense that it would warrant, some more voters coming from the previously NASA basket to Jubilee. So this time round, I still see Kisii sticking to NASA and giving NASA overwhelming support.
Okay. Gabriel?
Again, on this, on Kisii and Nyamira, I'll agree to an extent. The only thing is that you see, the Omugusi, like my good Wakili will tell you here, this is somebody who makes quite rational decisions. This is not somebody you take, you know, small goodies and handouts. They've always believed that, number one, the issue of development is so akin to them. And I think if you look at Jubilee, what they've tried to do in matters roads, I think there's an element of change a little bit. I'm not saying they'll take it like Brian is saying, and that's why I'm agreeing with him. But you look at what they've presented to the president as their grievance, mainly was to do with the T bonuses. And I think that is being worked on, and the president promised them this is something we will work. In fact, we've already started working on it. The issue of the roads, that one, Dunstan can tell you there's a lot of feeder roads that have already been done, and that was among one of their key complaints, which in fact the last meeting he was there, they all agreed that yes, our feeder roads are better than they were in 2013 and before. So if that will translate to anything, we have to wait and see, but I am so sure he will do much better than he did before. But still, in Kisii and Nyamira, NASA will run away with it.
Okay, the Dunstan.
Well, I want to confirm that I've been in the campaign trail actively. In fact, Hussein, yesterday I was here and I bid all the viewers by, but Hussein said, let me come and talk, because they want to hear the voice of the Omogusi Nation. I do campaign for Wiper, my brother Steve Mogaka, in West Mugrango constituency. So let not anybody say I've not disclosed the way Udunga did, and it became a big issue. I do campaign for Wiper, my brother Steve Mogaka, in West Mugrango constituency. The question of the Omogusi is one. Mutiel captured it very well. That the Omogusi has always been democratic. The Mulembe nation has always been democratic. All other communities have always been told they are democratic. When they are being exploited. Now the Omogusi is talking with one voice. Now the Omoluya nation is talking in one voice. The Omogusi is in NASA to death. That's what I tell you. For free, the president will do more poorly than he did in 2013.
I highly doubt.
In all the two counties. The reason being that Omogusi becomes an asset to Jubilee when elections come. When, after the elections are over, the Omogusi now does not become Omogusi, he becomes that people. So the question of inclusivity, the only thing, Gabriel, that is taking Jubilee home is lack of inclusivity after elections. That is what is also coming up in Meru. Always during elections, tuko pamoja. But after that, when the time for distribution of the national cake comes, there is nothing like tuko pamoja. So the Omogusi have said they will vote as a block.
I think that is not. I want to go the reason.
Finally, Brian.
Oh yeah, of course I want to delve onto the reason why the Omogusi nation, as the Dunstan is putting it, is tilting majorly towards the NASA. I want to tell you, since the departure of the Nechai, of course the Omogusi nation has been lacking that kind of strategic leader whom perhaps would chant the direction that the Kisii nation should take. And while Jubilee is pretty alive to that fact, they have sat back on that idea of actually trying to identify somebody whom perhaps they would build and make him the kingpin of the Gusii nation. That figure seems to be lacking after Nechai left. The former CIC, of course, Jubilee tried with him at some point, but he could not gel with the people because, of course, the Gusii nation were pretty alive that they do not want still to hear about the Nyachais every day when they wake up and every night that they want to sleep. Now they wanted to change that narrative perhaps and tell the nation that the women of Gusii still have women who can bear children, men and women who can replace the dynasties of the Nyachaism and all that. And that was a statement that the Gusii nation was trying to make. So Jubilee could still do better by trying to build one of the Gusii figures and ensure that perhaps he called the shows within the Gusii nation. That seems to be the vacuum within the Kisii politics of today. Right,
that is Brian Mutiel, the governance expert. Dunstan Omari is a constitutional lawyer and political analyst, and Gabriel Muduma is also a political analyst. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Remember, the gentlemen here are giving their opinion.
Of course.
Of course. And Mark Johnstown's could be more.
Yeah. Nothing. None of what they have said, I'm sorry to say, is a fact. It could be a fact, and we'll see how you vote on Tuesday. But thank you so much for making time for us this morning, gentlemen. Right now we cross over to the judiciary. Chief Justice David Maraga is set to make a statement on the judiciary's preparedness for election dispute resolution related matters. Also to launch a new bench book which contains a set of guidelines for judges and magistrates who will hear election petitions. One of those judges is the one speaking there, Justice Msaga Mbogoli. Let's listen in.
Wonderful team indeed. Despite the 1-year effort that they have put into this exercise, you cannot see any stress on their faces. Please take your seats and thank you for saying that. Immediately after its appointment, the technical committee embarked on its task with commendable zeal, dedication and diligence. In discharging its mandate, the technical team worked closely with 2 consultants, as I've said, Mr. Mudhomi Thionkolu and Lady Justice Retired Violet Mavisi, engaged with assistance of IDLO to lead the drafting of the bench book. This led to the high quality of the final product. Ladies and gentlemen, the technical committee has worked within the set timelines and has delivered a bench book within a period of less than 1 year. I think we should clap for them. And I think this bench book should be a bench book for other bench books which are still pending in the judiciary, my Lord Chief Justice. This has been possible due to the able and focused leadership of the chairperson of the technical committee, Lady Justice Esther Mutuku, and commitment exhibited by its members. It was impressive that members enthusiastically attended meetings, some of which I participated in, convened at the crack of dawn. This committee, the technical committee and the JCE, start their meetings at about 6 a.m. breakfast meetings, and we are now used. 6:30 we are already in the middle of some programs. They also burnt the midnight oil to conduct research and give feedback to the drafts prepared by the consultants. Further, the chairperson did not disappoint as she kept me updated by submission of monthly progress reports on the work of the technical committee. In all, I have received a total of 7 monthly progress reports, and I commend the chairperson, Lady Justice Mutuku, and her team for the work well done. I know the technical committee's success would not have been possible without the support that it received from my Lord the Chief Justice, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, members, JCE members, the legal advisor, Dr. Odote, the JCE Secretariat, and the valuable input that they received from various stakeholders from within and outside the judiciary. We subjected this product to public participation, and we have the input of the other stakeholders in it. I thank the IDLO for the support to the work of the technical committee by availing 2 consultants and facilitating the meetings of the technical committee. The IDLO continues to be a very dependable and trusted partner for the JCE and the judiciary at large. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome the technical committee chairperson, Lady Justice Stella Mutuku, to hand over the bench book to my Lord Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Judge Mutuku, please. Bench book and the report. My Lord Chief Justice, as you stand there, I request that you also hand over the book and report to the President of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Mr. Justice Paul Kiara Kariuki. I also request that you hand over the same book to the Principal Judge of the High Court, Justice Richard Mongo. I request that you also hand over a book to the representative of the Supreme Court. Who is the registrar? Oh, yeah, Judge Ojuangizi, I'm sorry. Sorry, my lord. Wonderful. Judge Ojuangizi, I'm sorry. And then to the registrar, Magistrates Course, Mr. Muller. Where are you? Felix, on behalf of the development partners, and make sure please you give the other development partners copies before you leave these premises today. Thank you. The soft copy is available and hyperlinks. My lord, please take it. You can access this all soft using the judiciary website. And I thank you. Now, my lord, in the absence of the Deputy Chief Justice, who is in the program and who has tendered her apologies, I call upon the President of the Court of Appeal to make a few remarks and invite your Lordship to address this gathering. My lord, please. And I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not on the program, and I'm not the Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, but I will say this with your permission, my Lord. Firstly, I came late and I apologize. It was not that I was doing anything useful, but I was held hostage by my sister and brother judges of the Court of Appeal, and I was only able to secure my liberty on the solemn undertaking that when I get back upstairs, I will have a copy of this. It's very, very, very long awaited, and I should like to add my very humble thanks, although I'm a member of the JCE, to everyone who has contributed to this great work. Well done, all of you. With that, my Lord, the Honourable Chief Justice, if it pleases your Lordship, it is now my humble duty to invite your Lordship to address this gathering.
Thank you. Please sit down. Thank you, Mr. President. It has pleased me to address this gathering. What Justice Mbogoli didn't tell you is that I'm the one who started the breakfast meetings at 6:30 in the morning, but we all agree that they have served us well, and that has been carried on to other committees of the judiciary, like the one we had this morning. The Honorable Justice Ojwang, Judge of the Supreme Court, the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Kariuki Kiara, the Principal Judge of the High Court, judges of the High Court and the Court of Appeal and the High Court here present, the Chairman of the Judiciary Committee on Elections, Justice Mbogoli, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Anna Madi, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, Mr. Isaac Okello, the representative of the Attorney General, Smudoni Kimani, the IDLO representatives and development partner representatives of development partners here present. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Right from independence, Kenya has been a democratic state governed by the rule of law. On August 27, 2010, the Kenyans gave themselves a new constitution derived from public participation and approved through public vote. That constitution makes extensive provisions on the matters that Kenyans hold dear, such as national values, devolution, good governance, and an elaborate Bill of Rights. On good governance, the Kenyan Constitution provides when and how to conduct elections. Elections, as we know, provide citizens with an opportunity every 5 years to determine the people they want to lead them. In the event of electoral disputes, the Constitution authorizes the judiciary to resolve them and sets out timelines within which those disputes should be determined, as well as the procedures and the rules to be followed in those exercises. To deliver on its mandate, the judiciary has a standing committee, the Judiciary Committee on Elections, which spearheads administrative arrangements and capacity building measures for judges and judicial officers, and generally prepares the judiciary to efficiently and expeditiously determine electoral disputes that may arise from general elections in our country. The efforts of that committee, so as we all know, enable the judiciary to determine within the set timelines 188 election petitions that arose from the 2013 general elections. Next week on 8th, Kenyans will hold the second general election under the new constitution. Under the auspices of the committee, the judiciary has put in place preparatory arrangements for the resolution of electoral disputes bound to arise from those elections. The committee has carried out a wide range of activities in preparation for the elections, the key ones being 1. Intensive refresher trainings for the judges and magistrates who will handle electoral disputes. This was necessitated by the changes made in the election laws since 2013, and the gaps that were noted during the 2013 petitions, and a review of the electoral dispute resolution jurisprudence arising from the 2013 election petitions. Virtually all the judges and judicial officers, starting with the magistrates from the rank of senior resident magistrate and above, and including the judges of the High Court, judges of the Court of Appeal, and judges of the Supreme Court, have been trained and are ready and prepared to deal with the petitions that may arise. Number 2, the committee has been at the forefront of reforming the election dispute resolution laws, and has consistently engaged the National Assembly on this. Some of our proposals were adopted, such as the amendments to Section 76 of the Elections Act to require that the filing of election petitions be done within 28 days from the date of declaration of the election results, rather than from the date of publication of the Gazette notice in that regard. Other proposals, such as the extension of the timelines for hearing and examination of the presidential petitions, were not carried. This means that the Supreme Court is bound to the constitutional requirement that the presidential petition or petitions be heard and determined within 14 days of filing. This has required us to put in place a number of administrative and procedural arrangements that will make it possible some of the arrangements and even administrative matters that we have attended, and I'm sure some of the members of our fourth estate here present participated, are in planning meetings, are in planning and ensuring that should there be a presidential petition, the media are well facilitated to access the Supreme Court and communicate the proceedings to the public. 3 direction rules of procedure for different courts have been revised and gazetted and subsequently compiled in what is now referred to as the EDR Grey Book. That is a compendium of all the rules and the laws relating to elections. That will be one of the tools for the courts that will hear and determine election petitions. The election parliamentary and the county election petition rules 2017 were gazetted in June this year, while those of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal were gazetted last week. The Court of Appeal and the election petition rules have been developed for the first time, while the other 2 rules were updated from the 2013 version. Number 4, we are assembled here this morning to launch the bench book on electoral dispute resolution, which the committee has prepared, as you have already been told, under the chairmanship of Lady Justice Mutuku, and done a wonderful job. This is a quick reference guide to be used by judges and magistrates as they handle election petitions. The bench book, which is the first one in Kenya's history, contains a summary of procedures in the election dispute resolution process, highlights key legal provisions from the Constitution, the legislation and the regulations governing election dispute resolution, and the relevant jurisprudence in thematic areas. It also provides a quick reference of key resources and authorities. I'm happy to launch this important book today, which has been produced through the painstaking efforts of the technical committee of the EDR, as I've said, led by Justice Mutuku. We are aware that the public confidence in the judiciary as a neutral and credible arbiter of electoral disputes rests on how fairly and efficiently we resolve the disputes that arise from the electoral process. Following the promulgation of the new constitution in 2010, the judiciary has been undergoing a process of transformation to strengthen its role as one of the 3 arms of government exercising delegated authority from the people of Kenya. We have embraced this honor with a steadfast commitment to ensuring that the administration of justice is efficient and independent, and that our services are accessible to all Kenyans. This is at the heart of the transformation of the judiciary, which we have been carrying out steadfastly in the last 6 years. As we head to elections, I want to make a few remarks addressing them not only to the gathering before me, but to the country at large. Kenyans, you have seen how we have in the last 2 or 3 months impartially and efficiently handled electoral-related disputes. If I may say so, both sides of the political divide have won and lost cases that they themselves have brought before us or their representatives. This is a clear demonstration of our preparedness. Once again, I want to take this opportunity to assure the country that the judiciary is ready and able to resolve all electoral disputes which may arise from the August general elections. I will, if necessary, allow our judicial officers and the judges to work outside of official hours into the night and through the weekends to ensure that we keep the constitutional timelines without compromising the quality of our judgments and rulings. We must never forget the crisis that gripped Kenya in the aftermath of the 2007 general elections. Those horrid events will always be a reminder that when electoral disputes are left in the hands of non-judicial processes, Kenyans pay an enormous price. It is in this regard that I urge all Kenyans, those who will not be satisfied with the results of elections at any level, to file their petitions in court, and we will deal with them on the basis of the law and the evidence placed before us. We are ready and prepared for that, and I want to urge the Kenyans to trust that we will handle those disputes efficiently and speedily. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. With those few remarks, it is now my great pleasure to launch the ADR bench book that we are all going to use during the hearing of the election petitions that are going to come before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. We promised you a short session, and that marks the end of the launch. But before then, we would like to invite you.
All right, you're watching the proceedings live from the Supreme Court. Chief Justice David Maraga talking about election preparedness and how the courts of the judiciary will be prepared to handle any cases that may arise from the elections. Now, the Nurses Union has rejected a proposal by the Council of Governors, saying it falls short of the offer they expected. The Council had proposed to initiate a joint appeal with the union to the SRC on job evaluation and grading of nurses. They also promised to pay withheld salaries and allowances to nurses and withdraw any disciplinary action against them. But the Union Acting Secretary General Maurice Opetu says after consultations they rejected the proposal and also sought to have nurses return to work for the next 60 days as negotiations continue. Maurice Opetu is in studio right now, the Acting Secretary General of the Nurses Union. Thank you for making time for us this morning. Why exactly don't you agree with this new proposal? How long has it been? Almost 2 months now of the strike?
Thank you, Sen. Today is the 64th day since we started the strike for the nurses. Allow me time first to demystify the notion, the wrong notion that is going around, the rumor that is being spread by the Council of Governors that we agreed to suspend or to call off the strike. That is not true. The strike will not be called off until the CBA for the nurses is signed and put for implementation. The purported offers that they say was not part of the dispute at hand, and therefore was an irrelevant agenda for the meeting. I want to put it in strong terms that the meeting was a kind of a PR exercise to show the public that the government or the Council of Governors are doing something to mitigate or to bring solution into the stalemate that is existing. But it had no any proper agenda to bring a solution to the strike. Because if they call it an offer, the salaries for nurses in a few counties that had been withheld by those county governments were not in dispute, and the salary payment is the right of a nurse or a worker in Kenya, unless a properly instituted disciplinary action is on that worker, which is not in the place for the strike for the nurses.
Yeah.
The strike is very legal. I want also to say that the process of re-evaluation of the nurses' job or description is not part of the dispute. That is a process that is being run by SRC and is ongoing, and the nurses are on it with the experts, and it is going on, and the report will be tabled to SRC, and another report will be done through the COG. So we want to say that the strike is on until the CBA for the nurses, which was negotiated, agreed upon, and concluded, is signed.
All right, it's important to say here that we sought to also get the representation from the Council of Governors, but they could not come this morning. Maurice, one of the issues that we talked about jointly, the offer to jointly, that is a council, jointly with the union, initiate the appeal on job evaluation grading of nurses to the SRC. The same list is a process that is already going on, so there's no need to do it again. But one of the reasons why this happened is because they say, and SRC said, there's no money to pay the nurses what you had agreed on in the CBA. Is it right then for nurses and governors to go together to SRC and try to iron this out, or do you think, as you've always said, that this should still be left to the employer and they're the ones to deal with that?
Hussein, I appreciate your question, but then we have to also appreciate the functions of a government. The responsibility of the employer is to have a negotiation with the employee, and in this case we had a negotiation with the employer, who are the boards of the public service of the counties, and we concluded the CBA. What we can ask is now the government to put their house in order. It is the side of the county government through the COG and the secretariat and the county public service board forum to be given a good environment and climate to engage different institutions in the government like SRC and the Treasury, so that they agree upon and come out with a formula on how to implement this CBA after signing. They should sign, and then what we can go back to negotiate is the implementation matrix that should come later on.
Okay.
But in this case,
but how do they sign? Of course, they already committed to this, I mean, to be fair to the nurses. But how do they sign? Because you're saying that they should go and deal with these institutions like SRC. But you're saying they should sign first before you decide to go back to work, isn't it?
yes.
How should they sign if they haven't ironed it out to the SRC first?
You see, you're saying SRC has no problem with us or with the CBA. The only thing they are requesting for up to date is the justification. Is for the COG and the employer to go to them and tell them, how did you reach this? This is the way we reach this allowances, these amounts on these allowances, and this is the way we think we can implement them. Then they convince the COG, because they are the people we sat with on the table and agreed. How can you agree on something after 60 days? Then at the end of the day you say you can't justify how you agreed with it and how you plan to execute it.
So it's still, according to you, it's still up to the Council of Governors to iron this out, because they promised this. If SRC says they have to prove where they'll get this money from, it's up to them. That's what you're saying.
It is up to them, and we can approve today. And the public knows that there is money. There is, even recently the SRC had some money from the pay cuts from state officers. This money is totaling to over 8 billion. Why can't this money be brought in to implement the budget for the CBA for the nurses? We have money in Kenya. We have money in the counties which are only misplaced. they are only taken for misprioritized activities. We have money. Like the other time we saw that the Minister of Health had containers which are doing nothing at the dock. Why can such money be used to implement the CBAs and put the terms and conditions and the environment for the workers to work in a proper position?
So finally then, according to you, the only way forward out of this is for the county governments, there is a council of governors, to do what they promised to do according to the CBA, but the only way you can go to work, back to work immediately is if it is signed. The issue about implementing it and how the money will be given to the nurses can come later. Is that what you're saying?
That is very true, Hussein, and I want to urge my members that they should stay put until the CBA is signed. We want to go for election, and I urge my members that they should prepare from today to travel to various stations where they are registered voters as any other Kenyans, to go and vote with their conscience, to go and vote with very open minds, so that we come back with a government who is committed to the plights of wananchi, to the plights of workers in Kenya, and to the plights of nurses.
All right, that is Maurice Opeto, the Acting Secretary General of the Kenya Nurses Union, Kenya National Nurses Union, Kenya Union of National Nurses, okay? And we again say that here and reiterate that we also talked to the Council of Governors to get a representation, but they did not send anybody this morning. But thank you so much, Maurice Opeto, Acting Secretary General of the Nurses Union. We're taking a short break. Yeah, thank you. We're taking a short break now on Citizen Extra. I wind up here, but in the next 2 hours, Brian Okoth will be coming in later, immediately after this, with the news trends, and then Lulu Hassan will be going on with Citizen Extra Swahili version. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.